to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty podcast with Borg, Betz, and a baller.
Welcome in. It's Wednesday, April 22nd here, and it's draft week, boys.
I heard the draft pep in your voice.
I could hear it too. Kyle is just amped for the Falcons draft this year. It's going to be...
You were up two full
It's gonna be great.
steps there, man.
Kyle's excited.
Well, I am excited, but yeah, the Falcons draft's not happening. Right? Right before the draft, I get together with my Falcons folk on my street. Kids get on the bus. We're talking. We have nothing to talk about.
Let it go, man.
We're not making it.
Let it go, Kyle.
The team?
Free yourself. Yes. I am a free man. I'm living life. You know what I love, Kyle? Football. I love the NFL.
I'm okay with that take.
I win no matter what. Like, hey, the Cardinals lost. Yeah, did I watch good football? Did I guess just football sometimes? Did I enjoy myself? I win.
I subscribe to this, thought process because if you're cornering me, if I'm getting bullied here, I like football more than the Falcons, and I feel okay saying that. I felt that way for a while.
Yes, good.
But when I think about other sport, yeah, with baseball, I think I like the Braves more than baseball. But
yeah,
I don't know many people that are just like baseball fans without a team. Like football, I get. I don't get the baseball aspect as much. I will say though, Kyle, with your Falcons fandom, there is something that just makes my Sunday every week. If they're in the early window, it's for our time. It's like 3:30. I usually get a text from Kyle, and he's like, "I know it's about to happen." They'll have like a 10-point lead with like 10 minutes left in the game. He's like, "We are going to lose this game," and sure enough, fast forward 30 minutes later, Falcons lost.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't.
You've embraced the pain.
It doesn't matter, man. Let it go. Like seriously, if the Cardinals make a playoff run, oh, that'd be so fun. I'll have a great time. If they are super stinking terrible and they end up with the first pick in the 2027 NFL draft, I'm gonna have a great time.
Now
I'm no longer. They do not have. This is not their property. I'm pointing at my chest for the people on the audio side. They do not own the rights to my heart anymore.
You can't have his heart. You cannot have it. You're gonna break it.
I took it back.
Now I will ask you this, Mike. There's a lot of steam right now on Jeremiyah Love to go third to the Cardinals.
Yeah. Do you want chaos?
Are you buying that?
If number one, I'll say I'm not actually buying it.
Yeah, me either.
I don't. There was one report that was cause for concern. There was a local guy who said, yeah, they're like, yes, they are interested in Love, and the person who really likes Jeremiyah Love, their opinion has more weight. And it was oh boy.
Oh, no.
So, I mean, that's only two people, right?
Yeah.
That's Bidwell or that's Monty, and that's, oh my gosh. So it's not impossible. I'm not buying it. The way I'm going to project and, make my picks on, so the footballers will make our picks on Thursday's show, or it might even be out because we're releasing, hey, spoiler alert for everyone here. We're going to release that show a little bit early. So it's not impossible they do it. I'm not going to project it. But if they do, then they must go all in. It's got to be Jeremiyah Love. It's got to be, do you have to trade back into the first to get Tyson Simpson? Or can you wait till your second pick and get him? I know the Jets are first in the second round, which someone smarter than me needs to explain this. How are the Raiders first overall? And then later on, do the Jets have the first pick? Why? What is happening here? Why are we doing this? But anyways, if you get Love, you got to get Simpson. You need to just be so stupid. Set the franchise back another 4 years with idiotic picks.
Is that just like the car is swerving off the road and like,
oh yeah,
like Doyle Rules part where they like in Madison, they just take out something else and just okay. I'm down with that strategy of just like totally being a berserker, just taking everybody else out, taking the whole franchise out. But I realize maybe it's because of what we do with our jobs here. But like when I think about football as a whole, it's like I like players from this team. I'm willing to watch players from this team outside of just the Falcons. And then when I think of my dynasty team, and sometimes I just stare at a couple of them, I go, that's a pretty good looking team. It's not a lot of Falcons on those teams. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe that's how it goes.
Sounds like you don't have Bijan, man.
I don't. I wish I did. On this episode, we are going to talk through some rookie draft rankings right before the NFL draft. So you might be listening to the show and saying, what all could you tell me? We want to give you a range of outcomes for players because it's one thing to look at the talent portion of a prospect. So what we've done on these shows for the last couple of months is here's the analytics, here's the numbers, here's what we saw on film. And the piece of the puzzle that we're adding to it is the draft capital and the situation of the team opportunity, how many targets. I'm going to ask the question when we get into our main segment is, how much should we weigh the draft capital, knowing that we have a little range? And then can draft capital lie to us? Where all of a sudden, like my emotions, and Mike, I know you've shared the Clyde Edwards-Helaire situation where it's like, I had these convictions. This is a first-round pick.
Yeah.
And we've all been there where we've been in rookie drafts, and we've been thinking things for the last 3 or 4 months, and all of a sudden you're about to take your pick. You're like, oh no. Like last year, my example was we poo-pooed on Mason Taylor for so long. And we were right. But I'm going to my rookie draft.
Totally redeemed ourselves.
That's my point. Just like we poo-pooed on him, and yes, pile of crap. No,
he did not break a tackle.
No, but he was a second-round pick, and we're all like, "Gosh, I can't completely ignore this." So I remember in a draft, just going back and forth between Mason Taylor and Harold Fannin, who we all loved. We said this guy has the dog. We love the yards per out run. He goes in the third round. You're like, well, can I really take a third-round tight end over a second round? Spoiler alert, I did. And it made me feel better because, honestly, could I look at myself in the mirror for taking Mason Taylor? No. And he will never be on one of my teams, ever.
Wow. I didn't know you were so upset about it.
Well, now I'm committed to him being nothing ever.
I mean, I felt like I was like the captain of this choo-choo train, Kyle, but I think you just train robbed me and you kicked me out. And you're like, no, I am the hater.
I will drive this train off the tracks. Yeah. So we'll talk about draft capital, and we'll give a couple situations here. If this player is selected in this spot, does that change them in rookie drafts? Because I was looking at some of the receivers after the big three. So when we talk about Omar Cooper, Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion, I have an order right now of those three. And yet I could see myself potentially shifting if one of them goes to a better landing spot and gets, like, could one of those guys fall out of the first round bets?
What were the three you mentioned? Omar Cooper, Denzel Boston, and Casey.
Okay.
I think it's possible one of those. I would be surprised if two of them did, but I think it's possible one could.
Yeah. I don't want them to in all of our projections and, the mock drafts and stuff, but it wouldn't shock us if only 5 wide receivers made into the first round. So we'll talk about that. We do have a giveaway right now for Ultimate Draft Week, and I need to make sure this is very clear to people because we're giving away some big time stuff. In fact, like
big time.
I'm looking at a listener league spot.
That's about as big as it gets, Kyle.
That's basically the best thing you can do. You're in the inner circle.
You guys can't even get in. You can't get in the listener league.
No.
Nope.
This is the inner circle of footballers' world.
Brian Ketron, a.k.a. the Big Sloozer, does co-manage my team.
Oh, well. Do you really think of him as a co-manager or more of just like he's there?
Kind of like Mason Taylor on the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are familiar with like
sweet 4-yard catch, dude.
Well, he's similar to what an anchor does to a boat.
Okay. There's a purpose. There's a clear purpose there.
Yes. Oh, for sure. We almost got Betsy with a spit take on that one.
Almost just choked.
Oh, man. So, these are things we're giving away. A listener league spot. Someone else was beginning a signed Jamar Chase jersey, a signed Bijan Robinson jersey. And the way that you enter in this is you order the 2026 UDK at ultimatedraftkit.com by the end of the draft weekend. So if you are an Ultimate subscriber or if you have bought the UDK earlier, then you are already entered in to win. And we're going to be giving those away. This isn't just like a contest to grab people like real people do. We've had real people that enter the Listener League. Brooks was one of those people that was a Listener League member, now works for us.
Brian was a Listener League member as well.
Yeah. So anything you want to add, Mike, about this giveaway?
No, just, I mean, it's a big one. It's absolutely a big boy. And it's like you save money. You get it at the lowest possible price. And then you just, I mean, if you're going to grab it, now's the time to do it.
Yeah. All of our
Save
rankings.
some cash and maybe win some stuff.
Everything we do, we're adding some new stuff to the Ultimate Draft Kit this year. We have some good stuff coming this summer. So
did you mention, I apologize because we had Betsy's spit take and I'm over here, but they're hassling me about getting my lunch order prepared over here. Did we mention, so like if you've already pre-purchased the UDK, you're in the drawing, don't worry. And if you are a Foot Clan Ultimate tier member, you're already in. Don't fret. You're in.
You're totally in. UltimateDraftKit.com if you want to jump in on that. But we're going to talk rookie rankings.
Hey, rookie. Welcome to the NFL.
Here at the Fantasy Footballers, we try to take a holistic approach. I feel like that word, since I've been around with footballers, you guys have used that, Mike, just to say, if people ask, like, are you guys film-only guys? You just watch the tape, grind the tape, and that's it. We try to make sure that we balance a lot. I think on this show, we bring up stats like yards per out run. Sometimes Betz brings up that I only live in the spreadsheets. But we try to make sure that we balance out all of those things, and hopefully the analytics match the film.
We do it all, man. The film, the analytics, the social media sentiment, the vibes.
Vibes based.
The gut check. I mean, look, everything. Everything is a part of the decision making.
Yeah.
Next time somebody asks me that question, like, you more of a film guy, analytics? Neither. Just vibes. I'm all vibes,
baby.
man.
Vibes.
The best part is when the vibes match the film.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So like
that's when someone turns into a my guy.
Yeah. Or the vibes of Mason Taylor were,
You're still crushing Mason Taylor, Kyle. Leave him alone.
It's his show. But we talk about players from a couple different standpoints. We talk about their talent, and then we add in this piece of information right now, draft capital. Leading up to the draft, we have what we call projected draft capital, where we take mock drafts and we say, like, here's generally speaking what the crowd is saying, the wisdom of the crowd. But we are about to get a small wrench in this when the draft capital that I've thrown out for players sometimes just doesn't match. And I'm left kind of in this middle spot of my rookie drafts. Like, I don't really know which one's more important. Do I hold on to the talent part or hold on what the NFL is saying? I think for running backs, that's always been an issue where we're pretty good at identifying the top guys. Last year, I'm looking at the list of like, okay, well, Genty was our 1. Hampton was our 2 coming into the NFL draft. We had Henderson at 3. But then beyond that, it was kind of a question mark between Scattaboo, Caleb Johnson, Quinshon Judkins. Devin Neal was our RB7 before the draft. And then the name that I want to throw out there was RJ Harvey. Before the NFL draft, he was our RB11 because nobody was saying this guy was going to be drafted 60th overall. I don't think any mock drafts, I'm sure NFL teams are like, whoa, the Broncos took him 60th overall. But then we had to adjust.
Sean Payton got us again.
Where did he end up last year in our rankings? Like 5th, maybe 5th among rookies. Like
something. I mean, you have to react to a second round draft capital, but the wisdom of the crowd, it does play a part in things, and the fact that the Denver Broncos and Coach Payton, I mean, they're already talking about, we still have to find another running back. Like, so you spent a second round pick on a guy that you didn't need to draft there. It really, it smelled a lot like I'm the smartest person in the room. You guys are so dumb. I'm just going to take this player here. It's not, I mean, they could have got him later for sure, but they went in on him. So it changes your opinion. Like, oh, well, Sean Payton, I guess, really likes this guy. They're already trying to find someone else for the running back room. Like, I think that tells you all you need to know about a second rounder on a player they're already needing to supplement.
And before even like this week, obviously with the draft here, in free agency, there were so many rumors on, are they the Kem Walker team?
That's what I mean.
If
They're
Brees
a part.
isn't
They want
franchised,
someone else.
maybe he's the guy. And they were talking about Travis Etienne, where it's like they're not just in on like a couple of guys to fill the depth. They're like in on the guys, you know? So yeah, RJ Harvey is terrifying right now in Dynasty, in my opinion.
Yeah, one of the things...
Dude, first round of last year is just, you got some guys in there because you have Travis Hunter, you have RJ Harvey, of just like, if you have them, if you have those guys and you haven't actively sent out an offer to get rid of them to try and recoup something, you're not paying attention to your dynasty team.
Caleb Johnson was a first-round rookie pick.
Caleb Johnson, yes.
Which, I mean, there's no way anybody wants him. I can't fathom anybody even wanting to trade a third right now, but you're just probably not going to trade him.
We had a 2-hour window where Kenneth Gainwell went to another team, and it was like, oh, man, okay. And then they're like, Rico Dowdle, please, we need an RB2 or RB1. We'll see.
One of the things we do is we take a final snapshot right before the draft just to say, like, here's the consensus of where this player has been mocked. It's not perfect, but I think sometimes we forget, like, okay, well, final draft capital, I can't argue with that anymore. They were drafted in the third round of the NFL draft. That's a final number. It doesn't mean we completely throw away what their projected draft capital was, because we can kind of like look at the discrepancies of those. And I remember Mike and I were talking about this last year about Isaac Tesla, because he was drafted 70th overall.
What?
And they traded, 2 third-round picks for him?
Yeah, 2 futures.
It was looking at like all the trade-ups that have happened over the last 15 years, it's one of the wildest ones. And I was looking back at Dane Brugler's notes. He said, the Lions trading up to get Tesla, he's a player who's more of an idea than a fully formed player. I love that quote from him. But my point of bringing this up is that sometimes draft capital can lie to us, and Tesla's still, we're still waiting to see what he can become. But just because...
any day now.
Just because...
Oh.
Whoa.
Oh, now my camera's going to be on the wrong... Oh, you guys get to see my nice beach scene.
I love it.
Is that what happens when you press the button, it turns to the beach?
Yeah. Now, Josh, I broke it. Josh, the producer, is scrambling. He's like, oh, no, Mike, what did you do?
There we go.
My secret was revealed. I'm relaxing at the beach, guys. This podcast is off the rails right now. But yeah, we hooked it up so that way when you hit the button, it goes to the main cam so you can actually see what's going on with the graphic.
Oh, nice.
I forgot I did that.
Nice.
You know what? Hit it again.
Yeah, we might.
No, Josh just left. No, I didn't hit it, Josh. You're good.
So as we go through these positions, I want us to just ask the question, if this player is drafted earlier, later than where we're projecting, how does that change them in rookie drafts? But that list of wide receivers that were drafted way earlier than what we projected, there's a bunch of misses on here. Deontay Johnson is on here, who had a couple of great seasons and then decided he wasn't a good teammate. But it's pretty rough when you look at Tyquan Thornton in the second round, Tutu Atwell, where you're like, oh, well, it's Sean McVay. This is a second-round pick. This must be good. Oftentimes, when someone is drafted way before, it's usually a signal of like, man, this team has a really different board. I don't know if they had to do that, but they did. So we'll talk about some of those players. And at the end of the day, like, I want us to kind of figure out, like, is this player's talent just so important to you that I just don't care if they're drafted as the 4th wide receiver or the 5th wide receiver? It doesn't, like, Jordan Tyson was one of those guys that we've just kind of been banging the drum of like, I'm just going to go with talent. And now it feels better because he's kind of being steamed up. But like, for a long time, I'm like, am I going to be wrong about his draft capital? He's going to end up being like pick 26 in the draft. And you're like, oh gosh, Omar Cooper went 10 picks ahead of him or something. So we'll talk about all those things. Let's take a quick break and then we'll get into quarterbacks. All right. We know where Mendoza is going to go first overall. And yet, the way that things shake out at wide receivers in Superflex, are we still like, I'm taking the top 3 in Love ahead of him?
I am
Currently,
personally.
I am, yes.
Okay. What about in a 1 quarterback draft?
I think when we've done our mocks, he's kind of settled in.
I would take the other guys over him in a single quarterback too, Kyle.
Agreed.
It's a great place to start.
He's kind of settled into like, for most of the mocks we've done so far, obviously before draft capital and landing spot, he's kind of settled into like, the 112, 201-ish range. That feels right based off the fact that he's not projected to be a prolific fantasy scorer. So I don't see that changing really, unless we get like weird stuff with guys falling to ranges we didn't think. I think that'll be pretty sticky.
Yeah, that's kind of the default, honestly, for if in single quarterback leagues, quarterbacks where you aren't super excited about them fantasy-wise. Maybe Mendoza comes out and Kubiak has a great system and they figure out the wide receiver situation. And Mendoza's like a 30-touchdown guy a year. That could happen. Like, we're not at all dismissing the idea that Fernando Mendoza could be a franchise quarterback or saying he's not talented. We're just talking from a fantasy football perspective. He doesn't really run, and the situation around him needs to improve.
Yeah.
Like, we all love Jack Besh, but R.I.P. I think they might be moving on. Cooper won't fall, but I love when a team drafts like the quarterback and the wide receiver. Like, I think that's just a really, really good way. You want vibes. I mean, a guy having a great friend already on the team, already has chemistry built with that player. Like, I feel like that works when you're able to do it. So maybe Cooper falls into the second and we get to start the Raiders' new regime that way. But in the meantime, rookie drafts, end of the first, beginning of the second. It's basically like when there's the tier of players where you're just kind of feeling gross about all of them or just not really strong. Just take the quarterback and see what happens.
It feels uninspiring in a one quarterback league to be like, I have the 111. He's still on the board. I could hit with a running back here. I could hit with a second round wide receiver. So I don't blame anybody. If you already have quarterback set, you're like, I don't really need to do this. But, I think in that 110 to 201 range is probably where he's going to end up. With Ty Simpson, if he is a first round pick somehow, either somebody trades up, does that change anything in a super flex where I'm taking him at the back of the first round bets?
I don't think it changes much, if anything, for me, based off of the projected trade that it's going to take. Like, nobody's talking about Simpson as being like, you better trade into the teens if you want this guy. Like, everybody's like, you can probably trade into the 25 range, 26 range, something like that.
Or just hang out in the second round.
Yeah, or just maybe he just falls into the Cardinals' lap in the second round or something, or the Jets or whoever wants him. But, that disparity in draft capital, whether it's like pick 26 versus 34, to me, the team is moving up to secure the fifth round option advantage. And for the game we're playing, like, that doesn't change much of anything for me if it's only a handful of picks. If this was a guy that people were clamoring to get up into the teens for, then, maybe. But that seems very, very unlikely at this point. So I'm really kind of holding steady with my Simpson evaluation for fantasy, again, just for fantasy, where he's likely to be a pocket passer at the next level. Those guys need efficiency and outlier touchdown performances to really matter a ton for the game we play. So even in Superflex, if they trade up into the first, it's not going to change a ton for how I value him.
I will leave some amount of chance or probability that Ty Simpson ends up being like a early Aaron Rodgers, giving us, with the 300 yards. The guy can move. Like, he's not a full statue. He has athleticism. He's just so inexperienced, and we didn't see massive rushing production from. We saw very, very little from him, especially like even compared to Daniel Jones. He's not even on in anywhere close to what Jones was putting up in college. And when Daniel Jones was coming out, most of us were like, I just don't see that being a part of his NFL game, which it was, to his credit, and the people who believed more Daniel Jones has done those things. Simpson's lack of experience is my number one problem, because those guys just don't work out. And then the number two is who's going to draft Ty Simpson this year? Arizona, Cleveland, the Jets, maybe Miami is in play as they set a backup option just in case Malik Willis doesn't work out. But maybe the Steelers. But I lay that out because the majority of every team I just listed is a horrible franchise who just no matter they ruin careers, and it's it's ridiculous to have to be that zoomed out and hyperbolic about it, but they do. The Jets ruin people's careers. Sam Darnold just won a freaking Super Bowl, and his career as a Jet was an absolute disaster. Geno Smith was a disaster as a Jet. He goes to Seattle. He turns his career and has a couple really good years. Cardinals couldn't make it work with Kyler Murray. Cleveland, come on. So what chance does Ty Simpson really have other than he falls even further than people? We could Shador this, because also do remember, ladies and gentlemen, Shador Sanders was a very heavy favorite to go in the betting world. He was going, number 3 or number 2 overall last year before he dropped into the 5th round. If he can drop to a team, say somehow he just free falls and the Rams get him. Okay, but I guess you had the Stafford extension talks are going on. He has to hit a place where he can be a backup and learn.
Yes.
And then get his opportunity. Because if he goes and he has to start for Arizona, Cleveland, or the Jets, his career is over before it even starts.
Well,
the other problem with, sorry to cut you off, Kyle. The other problem with that too, Mike, like you were talking about, outside of the Rams, which I think actually would be an awesome fit for him. Just give him a year, maybe 2 years. Maybe he's the successor to Stafford, and they can get him in if a free fall happens, they get him in the 3rd. It's yeah, we'll take a gamble. But if he does go at the top of the 2nd or somebody trades into the 1st, those teams that you talked about, they're all incentivized to lose this year because everybody keeps talking about the next year's quarterback class. And so I just feel for Ty Simpson, it's you're not going to be the week 1 starter. We're going to thrust you in there in week 10 when the weather starts to turn and our team is, 3-7, and we're just going to see what you can do. And he's going to have such a short window to prove that he can be the guy. Maybe he can be, but I just think it's so stacked against him because of those teams' motivations to secure a top 5 pick next year.
Yes. No, I totally agree. And Mike mentioned those 4 teams, Arizona, Cleveland, Miami, and Jets. That's who he met with. And we know that every first-round quarterback over the last decade had a publicly known visit with the team that drafted them. That only works if he is drafted in the 1st round. So he could be drafted in the 2nd or 3rd. And, like we saw with Will Levis, where everyone's oh, this guy's, a top 5 pick and drops all the way to the 2nd round, or Malik Willis, or any of these guys that we thought would be 1st-round picks. So I think to close this out for dynasty purposes, I'm not looking to reach in a superflex draft just because he is drafted at the end of the 1st round or he is in the 2nd round. I don't find it that strong because a year from now, you're going to have a pick between 3 or 4 quarterbacks that you're going to be oh, I want them in a superflex draft. So I don't really think we need to be bullish on Ty Simpson. Let's go to running backs because I want to start off with Jeremiyah Love and then just point and laugh at the Cincinnati Bengals for wasting a visit on Jeremiyah Love.
Because I would have declared it a waste of a top 30 visit at top 10. I guess they're
before
doing
the
their
trade,
full
it was
due
dumb.
diligence.
After the trade, it looks even dumber.
Yes, I agree. After the trade, it's just that was a waste. But we've all done that where maybe they had no idea they could get Dexter Lawrence for the 10.
Yeah,
and then that showed up, and then everything changed.
That trade, by the way, is going to potentially change so much of how we view this wide receiver class. We're going to get to wide receivers here in a second, but it's impossible to not now log on to Twitter or listen to a podcast or something with the NFL draft and be Jordan Tyson to the Giants. Jordan Tyson to the Giants.
Yes.
They love him so much.
Oh, yes.
And just a week ago, everybody was maybe he's in the 20s, And now it seems like he is a lock for a top 10 pick, which maybe in an hour, in 2 days or whatever, this looks silly. But that trade of Dexter Lawrence, kind of quietly shifts dynasty landscapes a little bit here.
Do any of these landing spots for Love, Cardinals, Titans, Giants, Washington, if you want to throw them in there, does any of that change him in terms of rankings among like Bijan, Gibbs, and him being the third or fourth running back? Because I don't know where you would have him, Mike. I know you'll do that after the NFL draft. I think we'd all have Bijan and Gibbs ahead. But it sounds recently, I know you've talked about this in a couple different places, like Love is higher than where you'd have Genty.
Yes, as a prospect, the starting baseline as a prospect, I like Jeremiyah Love more than I liked Genty. I mean, no, actually, I don't know that it really matters, because I like the Giants. I think they're a very fun team because I think Dart is a true franchise quarterback. But I mean, they were pick number 5. Like they still need to rebuild and rise from the ashes, just like the Cardinals and the Titans. Washington's the most exciting for fantasy football because it feels like they could get it going easier, even though they sucked last year. But I mean, they had injuries and all these things. So no, Love will not be above Bijan or Gibbs, but he is the type of talent like Bijan where when Atlanta drafted Bijan, it made sense from like the coaching staff, how they run things. Like, oh man, Bijan's going to get the ball so much, but they were not a good team. That was a higher pick, and they needed to improve as a team. And Bijan was just so good that he's just chilling on this like 500-ish type of a team and dominating. I think Jeremiyah Love can do that. He can be. We bring up the stats a lot of true top 12 or top 15 running backs. They're almost always on great teams. There's a handful of outliers though, and Love will probably be one of those guys.
Yeah. Let's bring up his teammate Jadarian Price, because quietly, and I've made sure to research this, Betz just looked it up again, we have no reported top 30 visits from Jadarian Price. Maybe there's a private workout, maybe his agent is doing really great things.
Super private.
But for a guy that's kind of seen as the clear RB2 from like a mock draft perspective, that's kind of odd. And I went back and found every single running back that was drafted in the first round had a known workout or a known top 30 visit. So I think the ship has sailed for me that he's going to be a first round pick. But Betz, like, is this odd at all to you for a player that, for dynasty purposes, we're kind of like, well, I guess he's going to be the RB2 wherever he lands, and yet there's still all of these question marks?
Yeah, this is like the ultimate, like, the fantasy nerds versus like the NFL draft analysts situation, because on the NFL draft situation, everybody's like, this guy, the talent is there. If it wasn't for Jeremiyah Love, he could have done it. That's kind of the general consensus take on him as a player. The problem is like,
yeah, but he didn't do it.
That's exactly the problem. He didn't do it. And so when we like to, forecast based off of production profiles and those sort of things, it's just not there. So it's a huge projection to say that this player will be able to do this at the next level. I think we all agree we're leaving some chance that he could, and maybe he is that good that the NFL thinks. But at the same time, he's a player that I'm fearful will get overdrafted in fantasy, because I would be absolutely floored if he's not the second running back taken in the draft, obviously behind Love. Doesn't mean he'll go first round, but I think there's a real possibility, like we're looking back after this weekend, and Price goes in the second round, and like maybe nobody even else goes on day 2. Like I think that's a very realistic possibility. And so by default, you're like, I guess he's RB2 in this class, and you kind of have to follow draft capital. And then it feels like there's a player every year at running back that kind of gets pushed up to like 109 to like 110 because of landing spot and because of draft capital. And like he feels like that guy this year. I'm not saying I won't follow that because draft capital matters. It's just he's a very I think the floor could fall out from your dynasty pick here with this guy very quickly within a season. I wouldn't be surprised by that. So I'm nervous on Jadarian Price, but the NFL seems to like him. So what do I know?
I think he could go, if he's the only running back drafted in round 2, in dynasty rookie drafts, he could go, like he could end up the 106, 107 because of how thirsty people are.
He could leap like KC?
I think
some leagues he would, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, that's the age-old thing that we always bring up, is that everybody needs running backs, and so these players are pushed up boards because there's a short supply, and when you get to 106, you're like, okay, is it Sadiq? Is it Concepcion? Is it Omar Cooper? And then you're looking around because there's no quarterbacks you're going to take there in a one-quarterback league. And you could easily convince yourself like he's the running back he goes to. I mean, if he goes all the way to pick 64 at Seattle, we love the landing spot. We're also like, wow, that's all these other teams passed on him, but still great. What if he goes to like Minnesota in the second round? It's a good landing spot because
it's a great landing spot, honestly. It takes time because Aaron Jones is there and Jordan Mason still is there off.
It's
I know
probably
last
wait
year
a
was
year for him to fully be unleashed.
Yeah.
But like, if he went there, Mike, how high would he go in a rookie draft?
The same exact ranges that we're talking about, right? If you're saying he's the only round 2 player.
Okay. What about Mike Washington Jr., who we've talked about a lot from here's what he did at the combine. It doesn't always
It's a trap.
Always match what
It's a trap.
Which is why he met with the Falcons. Of all the running backs they could have met, they met with him, and he's the only one.
Gotta get that Algier replacement, man. Come on.
That's true. You kind of need a big guy in there.
Well, they got Brian Robinson.
What's his range, Ben?
The other B. Robinson.
Oh, God.
What did you ask?
What's his range in a rookie draft? Like right now, like I could see him going here. I could see him fall. I could see him falling all the way to like the 208.
Yeah, I could too. I think he'll probably settle, depending on where he lands, probably somewhere in like the late first to early second, especially if he's the Seattle running back. And I agree with Mike. This just feels so trappy. Like we, as the fantasy players, have chased the speed score freaks from the combine year over year whenever the one comes out. But it's like, okay, if you just take a step back, you just look at where he's been in school and, no disrespect to Buffalo and all these places, like this is not a highly touted talent of a player. And we always get, I think, we get over our skis a little bit, putting so much of our emphasis on the speed score. And it's like, just take a step back. Like, was this guy a highly touted player? Not really. Was the production profile outstanding? Not really. It's like, we're just drafting this guy because of maybe landing spot and because of what he did running a straight line at the combine. You have to be so careful on these guys. So again, he's another one that feels like a landmine that could sneak into the late first, early second that I personally will be trying to be passed on in my rookie drafts. Just like Mike said, just feels like a trap.
All right. I think the final conversation is the Jonah Coleman, Emmett Johnson. Please get drafted on day 2 for fantasy purposes. We want that. I could see either of them right now. They're hovering around 100th overall in mock draft database. I just feel like we're worried. And when I look back over the last couple of years, even if they get drafted in round 3, we're like, oh, sweet, round 3, that's good enough. Or what we call it, day 2.
Yes, the day 2 pick.
The day 2 guys. I looked back at Dynasty rookie drafts really over the last decade. And there are very few players drafted in round 3 in the NFL draft that break out. The early days of our podcasts were like Jordan Howard, David Johnson, Alvin Kamara, Kareem Hunt, and Antonio Gibson. Those guys were RB1s out the gate.
Wait, what was that last name?
Oh, yeah. Antonio Gibson.
Because, Kyle, I think what you were meaning to say is that of the 48 round 3 or later running backs selected since 2015 in Dynasty rookie drafts, only 5 of 48 became an RB1 in their first year.
You need to remind...
And that last name was, just real quick, what was it again, Kyle?
Antonio Gibson.
Okay, thank you.
You need to remind Jason and Andy because they will rewrite history and say like, oh, yeah, he kind of flamed out. It's like, no, you got 2 RB1 seasons. You need to put that on the doorframe. My point of bringing that stat up and why Mike and I were talking about this earlier is like, it's so rare. And because we have such a short supply this year of running backs.
Well, in year 1, I mean, you have other guys like Montgomery.
Yeah,
Montgomery's a hit.
But Montgomery was also drafted as like 103 that year. So like.
Oh, that's right. He was. Yeah, that was him and Miles Sanders' year.
It's really tough because we have guys that Royce Freeman, a perfect example. It's like, oh man, this looked really good. The production profile's there.
Usurped by undrafted free agent. Whoops.
So we were right on rookie running back, just the wrong one.
Yeah.
I'm worried about these 2. So any hot takes here, Mike, about Coleman or Johnson?
Jonah Coleman rules. He's super good at football. I'm very excited to see where he gets drafted. He, if top 30 visits matter, he has more than Jadarian Price. And like, how do we count it, Kyle? Do the distinctions between top 30, private workout, and local visit? Do we just call those all top 30 visit?
Yeah, I would call the prospect visits that he had 4.
Okay. Because, we have Minnesota, Denver, the Saints, and Seattle. So, I don't think Price is going in the first. I believe more on the Seattle side of them trying to move down. Yeah, I know what's going to happen.
Just say it.
It's the Cardinals will trade up with Seattle into pick 32 to draft Ty Simpson. That's what's going to happen. That'll be the big closer for the draft, everyone. Prepare yourself.
Sorry to ruin your Thursday night. You already know what's going to happen.
But, yeah, I spoiled the ending. But the point, I don't think I give very, very little credit to Price going in the first. And just the way that the Seattle's draft is going to unfold, they did a local visit with Jonah Coleman. I mean, the local visit rules are so weird.
Yeah.
You happen to be in the same state they played college.
It also can count if you are from there, like you went to high school. So like Casey Concepcion had one for the Panthers, which didn't officially count. But there are some places like the Cowboys, which have a much bigger radius of people,
right?
As opposed to like Green Bay. It's like, oh, well, who's going to do a local visit with the Packers?
Yeah. There's all the high school kids in Texas. Like that's where you go to be able to go play D1 as you go play in Texas. So that's ridiculous rules. But anyways, the point is Seattle, like Jonah Coleman could end up on Seattle. And we could have a very fun situation of Jadarian Price goes he's only second round running back. And then Seattle picks up Jonah Coleman later in the draft. And now that's when you get to really test, like, what do you believe about these players' talent and draft capital versus landing spot? I think we could be in for a couple fun. By fun, I mean extremely stressful, and you stare at your phone while you're on the clock doing every bit of last possible research you can into these guys before you make your pick. But I think that is a scenario that could play out, and it would put Jonah Coleman right at running back 2 for me, or I guess keep him there.
That would be very fun if that happened.
I'm very in on Emmett Johnson, Narrative Street here. If he goes to the Vikings, because he's from the area. He actually went to the same high school as Larry Fitzgerald. So it's like Minnesota guy, they pick him there. I would love that for Emmett Johnson.
Well, then why'd they top 30 visit and not local visit?
See, that's the thing. I don't understand. No one knows.
They're like, Emmett, we want you to know it's worth more. We used a top 30 on you. We didn't have to.
So who knows? Betz, any final takes here on Emmett? Emmett.
I'm with you on these guys. I hope they get what we're looking for. You know, we joke about round 3 doesn't really mean that much, but it means a lot to us, and we can call it day 2. I hope these are our boys this year that sneak into day 2, and if not, we'll cross our fingers.
This tape,
we'll pray.
Tape will immediately self-destruct.
I hope with my second round rookie picks that I can shoot for some of these guys, but I still feel like I'm going to be like at the 206, be like, oh gosh, I hate myself. I don't really want to draft any of these guys. All right, let's take a quick break and talk wide receivers. We are back. We're going to be talking rookie wide receivers and what could change over the course of the next couple of days. I did want to give us some context because this year we currently have 17 wide receivers that are ranked within the top 100 of mock draft database. That is the second most over the last 6 years. So like last year, for instance, we only had 12 and that was reflected in the rookie class, right? It's like, okay, well, we had a couple first rounders, but overall it was pretty weak.
Running back time.
Yeah, it was pretty weak. And we have an article on the website, which I've referred to a lot over the years, of what matters more for rookies. Is it their skill or the landing spot? And wide receivers is one of those positions where I think over time we've found out, like, I'm just going to go off of what I found in terms of the talent portion of this and figuring out, like, who can earn targets. So right now, is your order, guys, still Tyson, Tate, Lemon? Because that's where I'm at. Or is Tyson still our 1?
Tyson is still my 1, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Betz, is Lemon your 2?
He is.
Mike?
Tate is currently sitting at my number 2, but I wish I could have decimal scoring here.
Yep.
because I'm more on Betz' side of I think that Lemon is there, and I know that stats can say what you want them to say, but there is a stat of essentially of like guys that are drafted this early in the NFL draft who play predominantly in the slot in college. The list is a list of failures, and not just small ones, like catastrophic ones. So that is, I do weigh that. But Makai Lemon, then you can, if you're a Lemon truther, you come back, you're like, yeah, but on the outside, he actually had a higher yards per route run on those routes compared to the slot. So it's not that he can't do it, just the team preferred him to use him in the slot. So I like Lemon. There could be a situation where if Carnell Tate goes to Cleveland and Makai Lemon goes to not Cleveland, then I could see them flipping in my rankings.
Does it mean anything to you guys that, we have a ton of visits to work with, including Washington, which did their whole Top Golf thing where they just invited all the boys together just to see who would order more drinks and who would be an idiot, just to weed out everybody. Does it mean anything to you that Makai Lemon has visits with teams at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the Dolphins at 11, the Jets at 16? He has a insane number of, visits and workouts here. And yet right now he's projected to go third. So Betz and I put out a bet, I don't know, what was this, like a month ago or whatever it was?
I think about a month ago, yeah.
Makai Lemon to go top 10. I feel like he's meeting with...
You still feel good about it?
I feel good of the value that we got it out.
One of those, this is a great number. It's not going to win, but the numbers, right?
Especially with the Bengals not at 10 anymore. I think that one probably hurts you guys there.
Yeah. I just think, could we have all three of these go in the top 10?
I'd be shocked.
I would be shocked, but let's say, Cleveland, Saints, Giants could all go wide receiver. I don't think that's crazy.
Right.
And also, Saints, Giants, do it.
Also, the Washington Commanders currently have Treylon Burks as their wide receiver too.
Sure, I didn't even think about
that's
Washington.
That's disrespectful to Van Jefferson.
And they have met. Washington has done so much homework on these guys: Tate, Lemon, Tyson, Omar.
You know what?
Denzel Boston, Chris Brazzell.
I think it's going to happen.
Makai Lemon to the Commanders would be so fun.
We all think top 15. The markets say that they're all going to be inside the top 15. I don't think it's crazy. We've had years where we have this run around the top 10 where it's like, remember we had London at 8, then Wilson was 10, Olave, Jameson, like all of there. So I like all of these spots though. With Giants, Saints, Chiefs would be fun. Washington would be fun. It sounds like we're saying somebody's going to get drafted to Cleveland and we are going to grit our teeth. Now, if it's Tyson, does that change anything?
Oh, yeah. I go in the shower and I just cry there. And
I think I still take Tyson at 102. That's how strong I feel. In a rookie draft, I'm ahead of Betz in our Dino Junior League.
Stinky,
I have the 102. He has the 103. And he wants me to get scared. He's just begging me to get scared. But I have been holding the line at Jordan Tyson.
Because, Kyle, the when can it happen?
Talent over opportunity.
I know, but light can't escape a black hole, dude.
You're not wrong.
I don't want to just make everything, the full anti-Cleveland Browns for fantasy, but it's truly the situation is horrifically bad. Shedeur is probably, I think, the quarterback this year. Even the strongest of Shedeur Sanders believers, you cannot be intellectually honest with yourself watching the tape of last year and going, Shedeur played really well. Of course, there's some throws here and there because he has talent. He has physical capabilities. But the product on field last year to capable starting quarterback is pretty far off. And they will be I'm not trying to say, hey, Shedeur could never turn into it. But I'm saying next year, Cleveland probably has a really high draft pick. And now you have the group of rookies of next year's quarterback class that are going to be very, very exciting. And then you're probably going to have a new coach next year. So that's all I mean of like, it's going to be a really unstable situation probably for a while. And then you're into like year 3 or year 4 and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy is just losing value. Just don't do it.
But he will be a top, if he's drafted, whoever
he's
it's
so good though.
He will be a top 10 drafted wide receiver, which holds value for at least 2 to 3 years. So
yeah. That's a very tough. But I've seen a lot of mock drafts now of since the rise. I'll call it the rise of David Bailey becoming probably the favorite to go to the New York Jets at 2. That has been a pretty recent thing over the last week or two. Instead of Reese going at number 2, which has kind of, there could be a cascade here of with Arizona, and so my point of I've seen a lot of people saying, "Hey, Cleveland might grab the tackle." His name is escaping me out of Miami.
Maui
Noah.
Noah.
Kyle knows how to pronounce this.
Maui Noah.
Maui Noah. Yeah, and it's like, yes, Cleveland, do that. Do the boring stuff right now, Cleveland. Rebuild so we can be excited about when you start taking our fantasy players.
Makes a lot of sense. And they've done a lot of work too with some of these secondary guys. Like, I don't want to say I shouldn't call them secondary guys, but like the next tier down. Yeah. Boston, Concepcion, Chris Bell, Gurmy, Bernard. So they are positioning themselves to like.
Sounds like a Muppet.
Gurmy.
I love that Jason did that. They're positioning themselves to, if they want to, take offensive line first, then address wide receiver later, which I think we all agree we'd prefer.
Also, I've been telling people it's so easy. It's so easy to build an NFL team.
Easy.
That's how you do it.
The Cardinals have not been listening to Mike. Put it that way. They have.
Well, they did. Even they managed to screw it up though, because they have generational Will Anderson dropped to them at number 3, and they're like, "No, hold on. We're gonna trade down and get all this capital." And it's like, "Oh, okay, I can live with that." And they're like, "No, we're not done. All that capital we just got, we're trading it so we can move back up for the tackle." It's like, okay, that's how you screw up the situation.
It's a real draft day scenario.
Yes,
it really is.
Yeah, they were like, Paris Johnson, no matter what.
I'm looking at our rookie rankings for the next couple wide receivers. We have Casey Concepcion at our wide receiver 4. Boston's at 5. Cooper is at 6. Does that feel somewhat fluid, Mike, going into the draft? Where I think it's
fluid.
I love Concepcion. I think all 3 of us do, and I want him to be the 105 in rookie drafts. But I'm holding it with an open hand, saying, depending on the landing spot, depending on, I could see Cooper going to a really sweet spot and go.
Talent, Kyle. We always say on this show, no matter what, you chase the talent. So I will be. That one's not fluid, and for me.
Okay, good, because I have the 105, and I needed to hear that.
If Concepcion has an outrageous fall, that is definitely not going to happen. But whatever, in this weird bizarro world, somehow he plummets in the draft and the other 2 guys are above. Okay, I'll try and reevaluate. But right now, the way that I like wide receivers, Concepcion is just, he's at the top. And then between Cooper and Boston, that one could certainly pivot, because Boston, I said it already on this show, I don't like his archetype of wide receiver, but I am drawn to him. He's like the one guy who's breaking through for me, which that freaks me out. Because I'm not usually wrong when I don't like those guys.
Yeah. When we're wrong, we just want to be wrong, and somebody else can prove me right. Any of these landing spots, I'm looking at some of the top 30 visits, which we have all of this on the website. We have a big article out there about all the top 30 visits. What if somebody lands in Buffalo? Who they've done their homework.
It's a trap.
That one's scary. I mean, as you know, we're always attracted to Josh Allen and what he can do.
Thrice.
But I mean, we have a private workout for Denzel Boston. We have Casey Concepcion, Chris Bell that they met with early in the process. Betz, how would Buffalo feel for somebody?
Man, who's the GM there?
Brandon Bean.
Oh, so he's still making the picks. Look, I mean, this would be silly if, like, let's just say hypothetically, Concepcion fell to them. And let's say hypothetically they took them.
Oh, hold on. I have a drop for that type of a situation.
Oh, wow.
Oh, Concepcion to Josh Allen. I will be all in.
That's
Kyle.
what I'm saying. You don't want to be like, well, it didn't work for Keon Coleman.
I'm so
obviously
happy.
You can't take KC.
I'm so
It's
happy.
Like,
I'm scared.
obviously, this is a good landing spot with a great quarterback and a great offense. And the other thing I was thinking about with the Bills too is like, obviously they made the trade for DJ Moore. It's like behind him and Shakir, who kind of have somewhat overlapping skill sets to some degree, if they still need this extra piece. So I've heard a lot of people be like, they're not going to take a wide receiver. They took, they have DJ Moore. I just don't think they're done adding to the room yet, is my take. So we'll see. Maybe it's on day 2 or later in the draft.
Still there, guys. And Coach Brady was just talking him up again.
Yeah, they
well,
said,
what's he going to say, right? Like, you
they
have
said
to.
some nice things about their eggs in the basket of Keon Coleman this year. The other teams that have done their homework.
That's just blackmail. That's the general manager is like, don't you dare say anything bad about my pick.
The other teams that have done a lot of homework in this range of the draft, like in the 20s, San Francisco is definitely a landing spot that you could see for one of these guys.
Yes,
dude, KC would be such a good fit there.
That's what I have. I think that's who you have, Mike.
I'm never going back to the pants stores.
What about Baltimore?
There's some spots.
What about Baltimore? Just
I would like it.
What Concepcion? What? Why do you need Flowers and KC?
Yeah, that feels a little
Or are you just saying in general
'Cause
as
they
a
got
landing
Bateman.
spot? Well, the eternally renegotiated gets new contracts and does nothing.
What about Philly? Because they've quietly done a lot of work with these wide receivers.
Yeah,
It
and
would
it seems
Go ahead, Betz.
pretty much in pen that AJ Brown will not be on the team. The thing is, though, is there's so much rumors about them with the offensive line that, like, I think they might be a later in the day, like later in round 2 type of team. But I mean, if KC goes there, Mike, hit the drop.
You got it.
I'm never going back to the pants stores.
It sounds like
They have met with him.
our mode is, does he get drafted? Like that's what it comes down to. Does Casey
Pretty much. You found us out, Kyle.
except for obviously if he goes to the Browns.
Yes. Yeah.
If
Where the
Cleveland
light
does this to
cannot-
us, I swear.
The light cannot escape. It cannot shine.
Yeah, that's where you pants up right there. You just, gosh, I gotta. This,
I'm gonna wear 3 pairs of pants just in case.
I'll still draft him. Any
Yeah, so will
any of these day 2 guys that stand out to you that you're like, hey, I really could see that. Like Chris Brazzell has met with a lot of teams, and it seems like he could sneak into round 2. So he's at least somebody that's going to enter the conversation when you get to back of the first round, beginning of the second round in Dynasty rookie drafts. You're like, oh man, like Jaden Higgins last year. We like Jaden Higgins, but we didn't know he was going to be the 34th overall pick. And all of a sudden you're dealing with him, Trey Harris, Jack Besh, Luther Burden even. Like all those guys were like early second round picks that you kind of had to sort out the order. That's what we're going to do. So any takes here of guys you're like, I could see them solidify this and be like end of first round guy.
I don't really. I see a bunch of round 2, like middle of round 2 type of wide receivers who will be like they'll be okay for fantasy football. There's just no one. I get you looking at the top 30 visits. Ted Hurst does have a lot of interest. I imagine it's just probably more due to his circumstances of the the smaller school. Maybe like, hey, we want to get to know this kid a little bit more. Where you just when guys like Fields goes to Notre Dame or Williams is at Clemson, is like you kind of just trust the system a bit more than the smaller school. So that's probably what's going on there. But I mean, Ted Hurst, like at least physically and athletically, he he's an interesting player, and the teams that have visited with him are predominantly teams where you would have to move Hurst up in your rankings should one of them take him.
Betz, you got anybody?
I mean, this range is, I think, kind of tricky just in general because there's not a lot that we've been excited about with these players outside of projected draft capital and potential landing spot. I brought up, I think it might have been last week or the week before, I'm kind of like eyeing Antonio Williams to see where he goes. I know he was mostly a slot player at college. So that's kind of a tricky thing, but just the guys that are projected to go kind of in this range of like Zachariah Branch, Malachi Fields, Hurst. It's like at least Antonio Williams, when he was a freshman, came out and put up numbers in college. It's like maybe there's something there. So I'm leaving the light on for him based off of where he could potentially go. But again, it's just a tricky projection given that he was pretty much a slot player in college. So we'll see.
All right, I'm going to finish out tight end. Sadiq met with 4 teams. Stowers met with 4 teams. Sadiq, we think, is going to go, in the top 20 picks, probably top 15. And there's some interesting teams. Chiefs, very interesting. Eagles has like a income or heir apparent to Dallas Goedert. Stowers is going to be interesting because he's not going to go in the first round. But for rookie drafts, I could see him land in a spot where you look at him and you go, man, I like him better than some of those wide receivers we were just sorting through. And he does sneak to the end of the first round of rookie drafts. I do need to mention a wild card is Oscar Delp, who met Georgia tight end, who met with a ton of teams and consistently has been drafted in mocks as a top 100 player. I don't understand why. I watched a lot of Georgia football. That would be wild to me to see him be a fantasy difference maker at the next level. But any quick takes, Betz, you want to give at tight end?
I mean, I feel like we've kind of sneakily been on Max Klare as like a sleeper type in this class. The 2 teams that we have known visits with, the Bucks would be pretty exciting. The Broncos would be pretty exciting. So I'm definitely interested to see where he could go. Likely day 2 pick, day 2. Hopefully it's in the top 3 rounds, but we'll see. I agree with you on the point on Stowers. Like, it kind of feels yucky sometimes to take a tight end in the late first when it's not like the guy in the class. But I agree with you. Like, once you get to those wide receivers that we just talked about, there's so many issues. With Stowers, it's like, yes, it's a projection, but we talked about him on this show. You can see how it works for fantasy. And if he does go to somewhere like, he's met with Philly, he's met with Denver, like, those are really intriguing landing spots. And I think there's a pretty decent consensus in the NFL that he's going to be the second guy off the board behind Sadiq.
Yeah. And last question here, Mike, as Michael Trigg's defense attorney, could you please explain why he has met with no teams and there has been zero buzz and any mention of him at all?
It may have to do with him being kicked off of multiple football teams. and like
too much dog?
Sometimes you can have too much dog. And my love for Michael Trigg is literally just it's the play style. I like that type of tight end. It doesn't always work out, but it's like my process got me on like Trey McBride very early. He was a player I loved. I freaked out when the Arizona Cardinals took him, and it was like in the back of the first, this is going to be a great pick. Now, it was like I loved Ben Sinnott. Oh, we'll go ahead.
I am the Senate.
I loved him. I loved him. He ends up being the second tight end drafted that year in the second round. Just never got on. Somewhere there was a disconnect, but it was like I just saw, I'm saying I just follow my process of liking those guys. And tight ends can, when they're athletically gifted, they can come out of later rounds.
Yeah.
Like shout out George Kittle, 5th round pick?
He feels like he could go like where Gadsden went last year, which is a 5th round, not expected right away to start away, but like, okay, this guy is a receiving threat only tight end.
Yeah. Like, was Fannin 3rd or 4th round?
Third.
He was, okay.
But yeah, there's a couple interesting names here. And then the last little stat I will give is I found that if the fantasy community is lower on a tight end, so like, hey, we don't think this guy should be drafted, or in mock drafts, this guy's going later, and they end up as a day 2 pick, it's actually a red flag because tight ends are often drafted in the third round to be blocking tight ends. Like Tip Ryman was the example I gave, is everyone's like, oh, this is a third round tight end. It's like, they did not draft this guy behind Trey McBride to be anything for fantasy. And a lot of time that's the case. So a lot of these rankings and everything will change in the next week. We'll have all that updated in the Dynasty Pass. And next week.
Yeah, the big Dynasty Pass update will drop next week.
Yep.
Early next week.
And on this podcast next week, we will do a brand new rookie mock draft where we will talk post NFL draft. We will do everything there. Make sure you head to ultimatedraftkit.com and get in on that giveaway. Win a Listener League spot, a couple of jerseys. We'd love that for you. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Fantasy Footballers Dynasty Podcast. If you want to take your dynasty skills to the next level, check out thefantasyfootballers.com.